Olaf Scholz is a German politician and the current candidate for Chancellor of Germany of the Social Democratic Party, SPD. Since the 14th of March 2018, he has been serving as Vice-Chancellor of Germany and Federal Minister of Finance. He previously served as first mayor of Hamburg from 2011 to 2018 and was deputy leader of the Social Democratic Party from 2009 to 2019. Olaf Scholz was born on June 14, 1958, in Osnabrück, Lower Saxony, but grew up Hamburg's Rahlstedt district. He has two younger brothers, Jens Scholz, an anesthesiologist and CEO of the University Medical Center Schleswig-Holstein, and Ingo Scholz, a tech entrepreneur. Olaf Scholz attended the Beckessinenau Elementary School in Oldenfeld but then switched to the Grosslohering Elementary School in Grosslohe. After graduating from high school in 1977, he began studying law at the University of Hamburg in 1978 as part of a one-stage legal training course. He later found employment as a lawyer specializing in labor and employment law. Scholz's family is traditionally Lutheran and he was baptized in the Evangelical Church in Germany. He holds largely secular views and left the church in adulthood, but has called for appreciation of the country's Christian heritage and culture. A former vice president of the International Union of Socialist Youth, Scholz was first elected to represent Hamburg-Altona in the Bundestag in 1998, aged 40, holding the seat until he resigned in June 2001 to take up the position of senator for the interior of Hamburg under first mayor Ortwin Rund. During his brief time as senator, he controversially approved the forced use of laxatives to gather evidence from suspected drug dealers. The Hamburg Medical Chamber expressed disapproval of this practice due to potential health risks. He left office in October 2001, after the defeat of his party at the 2001 Hamburg state election. 1 year later, he was again elected to the Bundestag in the 2002 German federal election. From 2002 to 2004, Scholz served as General Secretary of the SPD. He resigned from that office when party leader and Chancellor Gerhard Schroeder, facing disaffection within his own party and hampered by persistently low public approval ratings, announced he would step down as leader of the Social Democratic Party. Scholz served as the SPD spokesperson on the inquiry committee investigating the German visa affair in 2005. Following the federal election later that year, he served as first parliamentary secretary of the SPD Bundestag group, becoming chief whip of the Social Democratic Party. In this capacity, he worked closely with the CDU chief whip Norbert Röttgen to manage and defend the Grand Coalition led by Chancellor Angela Merkel in the Bundestag. In 2007, Scholz joined the Merkel government, succeeding Franz Müntefering as Minister of Labor and Social Affairs. Following the 2009 federal election, when the SPD left the government, Scholz was elected as deputy leader of the SPD, replacing Frank-Walter Steinmeier. Between 2009 and 2011, he was also a member of the SPD group's Afghanistan-Pakistan Task Force. In 2010, he participated in the annual Bilderberg meeting in Sitges, Spain. In 2011, Scholz was the lead SPD candidate at the Hamburg state election, which the SPD won with 48.3% of the votes, taking 62 of 121 seats in the Hamburg parliament. Scholz resigned as a member of the Bundestag on the 11th of March 2011. Days after his formal election as first mayor of Hamburg. Dorothy Staplefoot, also a Social Democrat, was appointed his deputy first mayor. In his capacity as first mayor, Scholz represented Hamburg and Germany internationally. On the 7th of June 2011, Scholz attended the state dinner hosted by President Barack Obama in honor of Chancellor Angela Merkel at the White House. As host of Hamburg's annual St. Matthias Day banquet for the city's civic and business leaders, he has invited several high-ranking guests of honor to the city, including Prime Minister Jean-Marc Ayrault of France, Prime Minister David Cameron of the United Kingdom, and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada. From 2015 until 2018, he also served as Commissioner of the Federal Republic of Germany for Cultural Affairs under the Treaty on Franco-German Cooperation. In 2013, Scholz opposed a public initiative aiming at a complete buyback of energy grids that the city of Hamburg had sold to utilities Vattenfall Europe AG and E.ON decades before. He argued this would overburden the city, whose debt stood at more than 20 billion euros at the time. Scholz was asked to participate in exploratory talks between the CDU, CSU and SPD parties to form a coalition government following the 2013 federal election. In the subsequent negotiations, he led the SPD delegation in the Financial Policy Working Group. His co-chair from the CDU-CSU was Finance Minister Wolfgang Schäuble. Alongside fellow Social Democrats Jörg Asmussen and Thomas Oppermann, Scholz was reported in the media to be a possible successor to Schäuble in the post of finance minister at the time. Whilst Schäuble remained in post, the talks to form a coalition were ultimately successful. In a paper compiled in late 2014, Scholz and Schäuble proposed redirecting revenue from the so-called solidarity surcharge on income and corporate tax to subsidize the federal state's interest payments. Under Scholz's leadership, the Social Democrats won the 2015 state election in Hamburg, receiving around 47% of the vote. His coalition government with the Green Party, with Green leader Katharina Fegebank serving as deputy first mayor, was sworn in on the 15th of April 2015. In 2015, Scholz led Hamburg's bid to host the 2024 Summer Olympics with an estimated budget of €11.2 billion, $12.6 billion, competing against Los Angeles, Paris, Rome, and Budapest. The citizens of Hamburg, however, later rejected the city's candidacy in a referendum, with more than half voting against the project. Later that year, Scholz, alongside Minister-President Torsten Albig of Schleswig-Holstein, negotiated a debt restructuring deal with the European Commission that allowed the German regional lender HSH Nordbank to offload €6.2 billion in troubled assets, mainly non-performing ship loans, onto its government majority owners and avoid being shut down, saving around 2,500 jobs. In 2017, Scholz received criticism over his handling of riots that took place during the G20 summit in Hamburg. After a lengthy period of government formation following the 2017 federal election, during which the CDU, CSU and SPD agreed to continue in coalition, Scholz was accepted by all parties as Federal Minister of Finance. Scholz was sworn in alongside the rest of the government on the 14th of March 2018, also taking the role of Vice-Chancellor of Germany under Angela Merkel. Within his first months in office, Scholz became one of Germany's most popular politicians, reaching an approval rating of 50%. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic in Germany, Scholz drafted a series of unprecedented rescue packages for the country's economy, including a €130 billion stimulus package in June 2020, which, thanks to generous lifelines for businesses and freelancers, as well as a decision to keep factories open, avoided mass layoffs and weathered the crisis better than neighbors such as Italy and France. Scholz also oversaw the implementation of the Next Generation EU, the EU's €750 billion recovery fund to support member states hit by the pandemic, including the decision to spend 90% of the €28 billion for Germany on climate protection and digitalization. With France, Scholz drove efforts to introduce a global corporate minimum tax and new tax rules for tech giants. During Scholz's time in office, the Ministry of Finance was one of the subjects of parliamentary inquiry into the so-called Wirecard scandal, in the process of which Scholz denied any responsibility but replaced regulator BaFin's president Felix Hufeld and vowed to strengthen financial market supervision. On the 10th of August 2020, the SPD party executive agreed that it would nominate Scholz to be the party's candidate for Chancellor of Germany at the 2021 federal election. In the run-up to the 2021 federal election, Olaf said he would be in favor of a coalition with the Greens. Olaf Scholz led the SPD to a victory in the election, winning 25.8% of the vote and 205 seats in the Bundestag. Olaf Scholz is married to fellow SPD politician Britta Ernst. The couple lived in Hamburg's Altona district before moving to Potsdam in 2018.